What's the worst Christmas bonus you've ever received? Story 1. Not a bad bonus itself, but management's reaction to how we used our bonuses was despicable. Years ago, I worked as a paramedic in the ER. The first few years, we'd get a pretty good bonus. $200, $500, depending on position. Then, the hospital was sold. New owners cut bonuses and gave each employee a gift certificate for a free turkey from a local grocery chain. At the time, the value was about $15. Most of the staff, myself included, felt a bit dismayed, but we were polite about it. Since not many of us cooked turkey for Christmas dinner, we donated our gift certificates to a couple of homeless shelters in town. Management caught wind of it and sent an email to all employees stating that since we didn't appreciate the thoughtful gift provided by the hospital, there would be no Christmas bonuses going forward. We tried to pay it forward to someone less fortunate and got slapped in the face for it. Story 2. I got a letter from corporate letting me know that they had made a donation in my name to a charity. Specifically to themselves, I work for a nonprofit. Story 3. I worked at a company, and the owner walked around during the Christmas party and gave people their paychecks in a fancy envelope. That way clients would be thinking that the employees were getting bonuses. Story 4. The statement of, "Be happy you have a job." They had to find a new replacement after that. You could just say no bonus, but you had to be dick about it. Story 5. Last year, our school gave teachers a plastic bag with a mini candy, a mini hand sanitizer, and a single tea bag. Story 5. Last year, our school gave teachers a plastic bag with a mini candy, a mini hand sanitizer, and a single tea bag. Story 6. I worked in a supermarket, and one year part of Christmas celebrations was that the week before Christmas, the staff cafeteria would host Christmas dinner for the staff, and they would be waited on by the management team. It was a free meal, 3 courses, with wine. Cheap, but a decent gesture meant in good humor. It was a big supermarket, so there were a lot of staff. This meant that dinner had to have 3 sittings so that A, everyone who wanted to attend, could, and B, enough staff were left to run the shop floor. I was working a 10 HR shift that day, closing my department, so I opted for the 3rd sitting. My friend Dan was on his day off, but planned to come in for lunch just to hang out with people and get free food, which we had been told was totally fine. By the end of the 2nd sitting, the management team decided that they had had enough, didn't host the 3rd sitting, and in fact, just closed the cafeteria and ate Christmas dinner by themselves. Both me and Dan were effectively told at the door that we weren't invited, and no one else was allowed in except to get water or use the vending machine. Dan drove to work on his day off to basically be told to fuck off. I worked to 8 p.m. without eating since 8 a.m. that morning. I never got so much as acknowledgement that the event even happened, let alone an apology, let alone so much as a handful of chocolates from one of the half-dozen boxes that had been opened and left around the tables. My Christmas bonus was to look through the window and watch my boss and all his friends eat free Christmas dinner with wine on the company's dime, while I got to buy myself a day-old sandwich on the way out and get stink-eye from the cashiers because they had to stay an extra 2 minutes while I paid. Merry fucking Christmas, Tesco. Story 7. A box full of candy and beef jerky. It also contained a book written by the CEO of the company about how to be better at your job. Story 8. A Butterball turkey branded check for a $10 turkey at the grocery store. Not a gift certificate, a check with routing numbers and everything. I still don't know how it worked or why. I worked at a hotel and everyone was handed a legit check from Butterball for $10 with their paycheck. I took it to the grocery store and they got so confused they just gave me a frozen turkey. One of the bellmen said he cashed it for $10 and it worked. I'm still confused by the Butterball turkey check. Story 9. I've had small bonuses at prior companies. This year we are getting the entire week of Christmas off, paid. The entire company is shut down for the week. No PTO reduction as well. Story 10. My old work started by giving Christmas cards stuffed with cash. Within 10 years, the bonus was reduced to nothing. We ended up with a boring holiday party, 2 drink tickets, and a mashed potato bar. Many vital employees who helped build the place quit. The MGMT continues to chip away. It went from a great place to work to shit. Story 11. In the same way that you can judge a restaurant by how it pays its servers, I always say that you can start to judge a place by the Christmas party bonus. I work for private schools. They are swimming in money, but you'd be amazed how many of them are actual tight arses. I started at one school. Best place I ever worked. Still chat to the retired boss from there 15 years later, because he checks in on me still. The first ever Christmas lunch there. Incredible. Just like a homemade Christmas dinner, but for 100 people, all done in-house. Served by the senior staff. The kitchen staff sat with us all. Must have cost a small fortune and taken weeks to plan. Gifts for staff. It was a great atmosphere, and I don't think anyone didn't attend or tried to make excuses and leave early. Alcohol served for free, a surprisingly common trait of school staff parties, state or private. Within a few years, it had turned into, we can offer you the same cheap shit that the kids are now eating, but only after the kids are done and have gone home, because it's basically the leftovers, an email, and that's about it. By that time, my boss had left, and I was only staying out of utter fucking stubbornness to prove my professional reputation, which was being impugned. Once I did that, I was out of there. Hell, one year the head teacher was so isolated that nobody would sit next to them at the Christmas lunch, and I was left to do so as a mere peon who they never spoke to. The next place I worked, very similar. First year, amazing Christmas lunch, huge amounts of great games with all the staff, so much effort gone into it. Everyone had an amazing time, and families were brought along, etc. Crammed into a hall, but nobody cared. We were all shoulder to shoulder because we all wanted to be there. People were squeezed into the end of the table. Someone else would go off and bring back some extra chairs to try to fit us all in. It was just like a large extended family Christmas. By the year I left, some 8 years later, the Christmas lunch was basically a cheap turkey sandwich, and they put some music in the sports hall, and everyone found excuses to leave as soon as they could. There was no financial reason for it, and no other real reason to justify it, except that the culture just died. People were bitter, vengeful, exploited, abused, and nobody wanted to stay 1 second longer in the place than necessary to earn their wages. But the early years at those places were amazing. I started a new job this time last year. I didn't attend the first Christmas do because I was very new at that time, lived a long way away, was still moving house, and it felt a little odd to do so, but it was lovely and welcoming and warm, and I was made to feel like I was really missing out on something. I have no doubt this year will be the same kind of atmosphere. Some of my staff worked a Saturday when they had no need to purely because it was the school Christmas fair and they loved the atmosphere in previous years and then spent days crowing about how good it was this year too. The prime indicator of how good your corporate culture is the Christmas party, presents, bonus. Because they are entirely optional for both employer and employee, because you can tell if thought has gone into them, because it's just once a year, so you're not going to bankrupt anything by splashing out on it as an employer. If your Christmas atmosphere is forced, or your Christmas bonus is met with meh, you have a corporate culture problem.